Hi there, welcome to Terraland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Scorpio energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Scorpio. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Scorpio. We all have our dualistic nature, and in our Scorpio nature, we have the free will to harness a more high vibe, a more worldly, or a more shadowy Scorpio energy. And Scorpio is emotional water sign energy. If we don't invest time, energy, and effort into connecting with our emotions and kind of emotionally growing and maturing ourselves, we'll kind of keep staying emotionally mature. And Scorpio is about exploring the mysteries of life, but some people, we're emotionally complex human beings, which is also what Scorpio talks about. And some people could have decided, nah, it's too confusing. I don't want to deal with it. And so they don't even connect in with themselves very much emotionally, kind of at a superficial level, and then they kind of use their emotions in a more superficial way. Can they be victorious or successful in a lot of ways in the world? Can they wear a really good false mask and use their emotions more manipulatively? Yes. But they could be come across eventually. People kind of realize they're kind of emotionally shallow and superficial, and it's hard to have a deep meaningful relationship with them because they're not a very deep emotional person. And water sign energy can be about what we love, and some people love repeating an old pattern, never want to step out of their comfort zone. Love helps us give birth to new versions of ourselves and new things in our life, and some people don't want to do that. Scorpio's fixed sign energy can like to stay in its comfort zone. Some people love themselves more than wanting to love anyone else. Some people love the world and things of the world they want to indulge in or make their life about. And it's just, we have our Scorpio nature, everyone else has theirs. Depending on how important Scorpio is in your life, if you're someone who wants deep, meaningful relationships, you want to have that in common with people. And with some people, you come to realize you can't, because that's not the truth of who they are. And it's working through the emotional confusion of that, there's these things that we wanted to have work out the way we wanted them to work out in our Scorpio fixed sign nature. But sometimes we gotta see the truth. It's not going to work out. Not, you know, driven and motivated by different things and aspirations. I'm also getting a card out of the Cost of Becoming deck. And you got wanting more broke the old pattern. Yeah. When some people are ready to move forward in life a little differently, face their fears, kind of love and believe in themselves, they're kind of ready to move forward in life differently. And the other people are like, nope, I want to keep doing this. So I'll go find a different friend, a different relationship, a different job, because in their fixed sign Scorpio emotional nature, they have a way of living life and viewing life that they are comfortable with and happy with. And that's fine. Different strokes for different folks. But if you find out that's not your truth, then, you're not going to be one of the people who wants to stay in that job, friendship, or relationship. So the reason for the bottom rose reading is the Hangman card, which in shadow can be that you feel stuck. How many times have we gotten maybe in a friendship or relationship because we feel stuck, right? Something else that we had been invested in didn't work out the way we wanted. And in shadow, the hangman and the bottom row can kind of represent that we could be more influenced by to repeat an old pattern or to make a decision more out of fear, insecurity, pride, ego. Why? Because we could have mental conflict about seeing the truth. In high vibe, the hangman is about seeing the truth. Oh, I should take this time to self-reflect on why that didn't work out. See the truth of it. Where did I need to heal and grow, mature myself? What about the people I was in friendship or relationship with? And then see the truth of it and heal and stop repeating that pattern. We'll all repeat certain patterns over and over until we're willing to kind of see the truth, get out of our ego about it. High vibe Pisces expand our perception of ourself and the world around us and how we view ourselves, what we believe is possible, connect in with our emotions and our intuition. You know, some of the things in our air sign energy of Aquarius and Gemini, some of those things we wanted to have a dream come into reality, and it kind of seemed to make logical, practical sense. But there was something we weren't seeing the truth of. And sometimes, you know, shadowy energy can be that we just have lessons to learn and we were on a journey to learn some lessons. And if we're willing to learn the lesson and see the truth about what we weren't seeing, then we can move forward in life differently. But, you know, we'll all keep repeating a pattern over and over until we're kind of willing to, well, that didn't work out the way I wanted. And if we don't want to just keep doing it again and probably have it not work out again the way we wanted, that's when people are like, no, I'm not going to do that again. Let me think about this. Let me work through this. And it can be, oh, do they view life differently than me? Do they have a different dream than me? Are they not willing to step out of their comfort zone? Do they want to keep repeating a pattern? Have I been trying to move something forward with people who don't want to move forward in life differently? Do we view life differently? Are we emotionally more invested in different things and ways of living life? And I don't want to see the truth of it. And the fives can talk about change. And in high vibe, the hangman can be about being willing to see things from other people's perspective. Again, maybe connecting with their emotions. Maybe they get all caught up in their head and they're not, in high vibe Aquarius, able to keep things in perspective. In a more shadowy Aquarius, they do get all up in their head, or they get more manipulated by their ego nature or people in their life or their fear or their insecurity. You know, so long as other people that we're in relationship with still have certain things that could manipulate them that aren't things that maybe manipulate us. It's just like when we were 18 and 21 and 25, we had a certain way of living life and viewing life that we thought was going to be emotionally fulfilling and that we were going to like living our life that way. And so we did live our life that way. Well, then we could be ready to move forward in life a little differently. Like, you know, I kind of feel stuck about continuing to live my life that way because I have a dream. So I want to detach from some of those ways of doing things. Again, in the Aquarius energy, I have a dream. And I realize if I want that dream to come into reality, I can't keep doing these things if those things keep stopping me from that dream. If I want that dream to come into reality, I have to see that, you know, in high vibe Sagittarius, which is about higher learning and education, I need to wrap my brain around this. If I keep doing this, I'm not going there. So I have to see the truth of it. And if I'm working with certain people or I have certain habits, patterns, vices that aren't conducive to moving forward and living my life this way, I need to see the truth. I need to stand up for myself. I might need to just stand up to my more immature, shadowy nature. In turn, I might have to stand up to some other people in my life who want me to live my life that way because they live their life that way. Well, their dream might be different than my dream. Can I like them? Could I love them? Could I enjoy their company? Could I enjoy those activities? Yeah, but if it doesn't move my life forward the way I want, and I am inspired to have a certain viewpoint of where I want to be in my life in 5 years or 10 years from now, I got to quit doing some of those things. And if those people want to keep doing those things, well, though I might be sad and have mental conflict about it, I might have to detach from some of those jobs, those friendships, those relationships, those patterns, habits, vices. I need to stand up for my dreams that I have. And then underneath that, we have the Gemini, like the Ten of Swords, is Gemini energy. With some people in our dualistic nature, is what Gemini talks about. Their idea of the dream life could be different than my idea of the dream life. Their truth could be different than my truth. You know, they could be completely happy never living their life the way I live my life, or growing or healing or maturing themselves. And I might want to work through some things that manipulate me. And I might have a different dream. So then I have to stand up for my truth. They defend their truth. That's how they want to move forward. That's what they defend. And it's kind of like the things that we defend as our idea of the dream life and how we want to live life and maybe also treat people in relationships is different. And eventually people see the truth of it, and the high vibe people do this work within themselves to work through and accept the truth. My dream can't come into reality here. We kind of have to harness our Gemini nature the same. And the magician also has Virgo energy, which can be about our truth. The Four of Swords. Have we healed? Are we just? Are we fair? Do we have different ideas of what it means to treat other people the way you like to be treated, or even being just and fair? Some people are very prideful and stubborn, immature, full of themselves. They don't want to be just and fair. They don't want to do truth and love. They want to be in it, and they want people to have mental conflict about loving and believing in themselves. So those loving people will keep staying in a relationship, stuck with them acting shadowy. They do not want to put an end to being more immature, more about themselves, more manipulative, more stubborn, more prideful, more materialistic, more self-indulgent, more about the things they want to go indulge in. They don't want to work together with people cooperatively to bring that dream into reality, because that's not the truth of how they want to live their life. So then we kind of realize that my dream can't come into reality with them. I need to go invest in people in the Hermit, High Vibe Virgo energy, people who've kind of learned some of the same lessons that I've learned in a way, because the truth sets us free. If we work through our pride, our ego, our fear, our insecurity, our immaturity, our more self-indulgent nature, our prideful nature, being full of ourself nature, being more caught up in these things of the world, we've been enlightened to the truth that high vibe energy is about being balanced. Do I want some of those things of the world? Yes. Am I willing to sacrifice truth and love and justice and fairness and growing and healing and maturing myself? No. It's to be a balance of those things and looking for other people who that's their truth. They also don't like being manipulated by their immature nature, letting their more shadowy nature like be in the driver's seat of their life. That kind of keeps us enslaved to our more immature, shadowy nature, fearful, insecure, prideful, lustful, greedy. And there's other people who kind of wish those things didn't manipulate them, but you have to put in a lot of work and effort to free yourself from things that manipulate you. Even if it is your fear and your getting up in your head and being defensive or tempering your more immature nature. Our shadow nature wants us to indulge ourselves in our more immature nature, to not love and believe in ourselves. It'll be fine. This will make you feel better. Go do this instead. Shadowy energy at the big picture is represented by the devil. All these things that could manipulate us that could stop us from getting the life that we deserve to live. But it takes work and effort. You have to stand up to your more immature, shadowy nature and the other people in your life who you could love that want you to keep living your life the way they live their life. And they might not stand up to their own shadow nature and other people in their life who manipulate them. And sometimes we see that we're in relationships with people who are manipulated by things that don't manipulate us to that degree. And so then it is kind of like we're on different pages. Like some people could be very stubborn and prideful. Other people aren't as stubborn and prideful. Some people lack hope and faith and belief in themselves and in their dreams and in others and in love. And for other people, that's not an issue that really manipulates them, you know? And again, in our Gemini nature, people in a world of duality, some people have that more hopeful, believing, loving spirit. Some people don't. You know, can they be our adult children, brothers, sisters, moms, dads, romantic interests? Yeah. And it can be really cause us a lot of mental conflict to kind of see the truth of it. Because if you're someone who has more hope and faith and belief in love, you kind of think, doesn't everybody have more hope and faith and belief in love? And some people don't. That could really cause, that's like the danger zone. They get hurt doing that. Plus, so then operating from your ego nature can just be, I want to be in my more self-protected defensive nature. I don't really want to do love. I want to be in the relationship. That would be great for all these reasons. But I want you to let me be in a relationship with you while I lack that hope and faith and belief. And so I'm always more defensive and self-protective. But then it's like you can't have a more deep, meaningful relationship with them. And they might have a lot of fears and insecurities that get them up in their head. And it kind of sabotages the relationship, Everybody has to work through some of those issues to be able to work together with people in a more hopeful, believing way. And that's a free will choice to choose to work through those issues and be willing to work through them and see, why do I sabotage myself? Why do I get so much up in my head? Why am I so defensive to love? And until they do that, they're probably going to keep repeating this pattern. And some people will free willingly choose, that takes too much work and effort. It'll be fine. Let them go. I'll just go find someone who's more on the same page as me. And what is that? Deciding and making the decision in the King of Pentacles, which the kings can represent how people present themselves in the world, male or female. But when we take our worldly vessel of self out in the world, that's considered masculine energy. The feminine figures can more indicate how we really think and feel. But people can present themselves in the world, in the King of Pentacles, as these very stable, grounded, mature people. And then we get in a relationship with them and we find out that they're maybe more competitive in the Five of Wands, which is Leo energy, which is about their ego. They have a lot of inner conflict about the pages can be being more authentic. And the Four of Swords can be Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice, being more balanced within themselves, more just, more fair. They have inner conflict aligning with that nature within themselves. The Page of Swords can represent all three of the air signs. Their Libra energy of what they think is just and fair, their Aquarius energy of the dreams that they once had for their life, and their Gemini nature of free will. And everybody has free will. And the truth is, some people decided at some point in time in their life that, nope, I've decided it's too dangerous maybe to let my more hopeful, believing, loving nature out there to play. They get hurt. I could have a lot of fear of maybe being hurt and backstabbed. So instead of taking the risk of even putting myself out there emotionally in my Scorpio energy, I'm not going to. I'll look like I've learned some of the same lessons as other people in the world. A lot of times I think shadowy people, their idea of the dream relationship, again, is to get someone who has that more hopeful, believing spirit, to get in a relationship with them. And over time, these people initially can try to present themselves as a more high vibe person. Oh, I'm aligned with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature in my Cancer energy. I have tempered my ego in my Leo energy. I am more motivated and inspired by love in my Cancer energy. Look how warm and loving and Three of Swords. like the Four of Swords, Libra energy, look how balanced I seem between my worldly nature and my loving nature, and how loving and giving and nurturing I can be. But it's all really kind of like a strategy, living more from their mind and their ego and wearing a false mask, male or female. And again, they can try to get in relationships with people who, during their life, we can all have our more immature nature, self indulgent nature, defensive nature. But other people, realized if I keep being more about me or full of myself or more defensive or more immature, you know, rightly so, some people aren't going to want to be in friendship or relationship with me. And they kind of saw the truth of it. And so they were willing to do this work within themselves to kind of love and believe in themselves, to work through their fears and insecurities, to let their more hopeful, believing nature out to play in the world. And they did get more balance within themselves. Yes, I have my nature. None of us can get rid of our shadow nature. It exists, which can be, different degrees of our immature, petty, envious, jealous, prideful, stubborn, fearful, insecure nature, right? But the high vibe people saw the truth. That's high vibe, Four of Swords, high vibe, Five of Swords. I view high vibe Leo as kind of giving yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you. I need to learn to love and believe in myself. And so, sometimes some people stay very codependent and they haven't learned to play that role in their own life because we all grow up in families and have our friendship groups and things like that, maybe when we're growing up, and we can be very codependent on those people to kind of play that role in our life to make us feel more stable and grounded and maybe victorious and successful in feeling within ourselves, right? Well, hopefully there comes a time and hopefully we go through some experiences where uh and actually, some of the people in our life weren't that just and fair or loving or supportive. And then some of the people who were, some of those relationships don't work out. And then we're kind of heartbroken and we have this inner conflict, and part of us could want to keep staying in some of those friendships and relationships. But we could feel like those people either became kind of shadowy or we kind of realized they were kind of shadowy or they wanted to be in friends or relationships with other people and we were heartbroken and we were conflicted, and that's when people felt stuck and they had mental conflict about these things ending. But it wasn't like, oh, I have an idea, I'll just go find another friend or get in a different romantic relationship, which is what, we could do that and we probably have done that at different times in our life. But the same thing can kind of keep happening, right? There's no guarantees. I kind of view that as Scorpio too, kind of going on this adventure, knowing everything you go invest in won't necessarily work out the way that you want, but willing to go on the adventure regardless. But, hopefully, as we in the King of Pentacles can talk about learning lessons in life, that if I'm being loving and encouraging and investing in people, and I want things to move forward, but you know, sometimes the people I'm in a relationship with is more mismatched, and even though I could be sad, I feel like I need to get out of it. Sometimes the people that I thought we were going to keep moving forward, they had their own things going on and ideas, and it didn't work out. That there can come a time where, you know, I've got to learn to I want to feel this way within myself. I mean, I can miss people not being in my life. I can be hurt that people aren't in my life or things don't work out. But I want to feel more stable and grounded and balanced within myself, regardless of what life throws at me. And I want to become harnessing these energies in a shadowy way. I want to get out of being in more codependent energy where instead of having more hope and faith and belief in myself and standing up for myself, that I could be drawn and attracted again in more codependent energy, just to kind of get in a friendship or a relationship with people because I want to feel better. And that's kind of shadowy energy represented by the devil, which the devil's like, oh, go do this and indulge in this and drink this and eat this and pop that and get in a relationship with these people. That's the answer. But those things really aren't the answer. And there are some people, they will go their whole life being in more codependent energy, and they never learn to love and believe in themselves. So it keeps them codependent. They in turn get in relationships with people. Again, they could wear a false mask. Oh no, I'm not more codependent. No, look, I've learned all these lessons in life like other people, but they haven't. Or they're still very codependent. And then when they get in a relationship, shadowy Scorpio can be where people are kind of hiding behind Pisces energy, can be creating this illusion about who they are, and anybody within themselves harnesses Pisces energy, and anybody could do like create an illusion, but they're hiding. They have a lot of fear of being backstabbed, or don't want it to end because then they'd have to go find someone else to get in a relationship. So just very codependent on it, maybe for the ego, the image, the status, to enjoy being in a friendship or relationship. But they haven't learned some of these truths and these lessons in life. And the truth is, if you'd learned some of these lessons in life and you'd gotten out of your more immature, codependent, fearful, insecure energy, you would have learned how to love yourself and feel more stable and grounded within yourself. And some people really don't. The bottom row can just represent that people are very imbalanced, unstable, ungrounded, defensive, prideful, immature. That they try to present themselves as a more just, fair, balanced, emotionally mature person. That's like the 10 of Pentacles and the 9 of Pentacles. Look at me. I'm single. I have status, image, money, attractive, charming, whatever. Oh, but by the way, I'm trying to get maybe a loving person to come over here and get in a relationship with me. But they can't really manifest anything else because they're already faking and creating an illusion about the truth of who they are right now. How do you possibly go to the next stage of life when you're faking the level of life that you're at right now? It's like, oh my gosh, I have so much inner conflict and I'm so much up in my head and I have all these fears and insecurities and I'm so defensive, but I'm trying to maintain, like, I know how to do this job or I know how to work with people like this on a more stable, balanced way, but really I have all these things that manipulate me and cause me all this maybe stress and anxiety. Or I really am more full of myself and I really am trying to play it cool, like I'm not more full of myself, and I really could be more bossy and controlling and manipulative, but I know people frown on that. I didn't learn the lesson. That shadowy Scorpio. I just kind of bury my negative ways of being beneath the surface emotionally, and then I wear this false mask. So whether people are more insecure, more unstable, ungrounded, defensive, or much more bossy, controlling, competitive, manipulative, full of themselves, either way, they're creating an illusion and hoping if they can get people to get in the relationship with them and maybe, take that job, get in the relationship, maybe marry them. The King and Queen of Pentacles is the only married suit of the deck. Some people really don't like being single, which is what the Nine of Pentacles can talk about, because they could feel that really says something about like their worth or value. High vibe people know I have worth and value whether I'm in a relationship or I'm not. And I'm not willing to get in a relationship just to be in a relationship. My ego does not manipulate me in that way. You know, I will enjoy my life. Would I like to maybe be in a relationship if I'm single? Yes. But I'm going to enjoy my friends and my family and invest in my own unique talent, skills, and interests, and maybe my career and all these different things. I want to be available that when I meet someone who is someone who seems to be on the same page as me, I can go get in a relationship with those people. And that can be kind of where some people, kind of in their more immature Page of Swords energy of their thinking, logic, and reasoning, they could think, well, I'm not in a relationship right now, and someone who I would maybe, the right person isn't in my environment. I don't know anybody like that. So, oh, what the hell? I'll go get in a relationship with these people and kind of create an illusion about how wonderful our life is. Well, then, what if someone comes along that does seem like it's someone they want to be in a relationship with? Well, then they could have a lot of inner conflict about telling the truth. We all, whether we get in a relationship or a marriage, whether things are good, bad, find out it's completely mismatched, all of us in our more worldly nature can have a hard time getting out of those things because we can be so manipulated by our worldly nature. We've already invested in it. It could have a stable foundation in it, and we know those people and we know how things work. So that's us wanting to stay in our comfort zone. I know how this works. That is unknown. And I'd have to listen to love and intuition to guide me. So anybody, regardless, can have a hard time getting out of relationships, good, bad, or not. But people who are much more codependent, much more materialistic, much more about their ego and their image, those people could get themselves in something. And then, the devil's all about trapping people in things that really maybe aren't aligned with their truth. But when we don't have hope and faith and belief in ourselves and listen to our intuition to guide us and kind of stand up for ourselves and not indulge our more lust, greed, pride, ego nature, we're probably going to get ourselves trapped in some things that's very hard to get out of for all these different reasons. And some people aren't doing that. They could have done it. That's the thing about learning lessons throughout your life. Could we all have done that? In our pride and ego, we wanted to feel better and more codependent and just go get in another relationship and hope that'll make us feel better. And then, it's kind of the intention behind why you do what you do, exploring the mysteries of life. That's kind of Pisces and Scorpio. All these things that subconsciously kind of manipulate us that we don't really want to see the truth of. But we all could have gotten in friendships and relationships where we could have felt we were motivated and inspired. We had different dreams. Could have felt some people were more about themselves or more about the world. Didn't really want to be in a more just and fair and authentic and loving relationship. And some people are working through that struggle right now. Other people already went through it. They also had a hard time getting out of it. For some it was because, well, I love those people. I thought we were on the same page. I really wanted this to work, whether they're, again, friend, family, or romantic interest. But if it's not working, and you kind of see that how you want to move forward is different, and some people are either don't want to, I don't know, really bring the dream into reality. Like, how about we be in the relationship, but, it never becomes a more formal commitment. Well, everybody can decide for themselves if that's kind of their truth and they're okay with that. Other people might be, I think if you want to be in a long-term relationship, are you committed or are you not? Are you going to Scorpio is also represented by the Seven of Cups, which can be about keeping your options open. If you want to keep your options open, I will let you keep your options open. I am looking for someone who wants to commit to bringing a dream into reality, who's worked through some of their fears and insecurities. Do you love me? Do you not love me? Do you think I'm just and fair? Do we have similar common dreams, activities, like each other? I'm looking for someone that I want to be in a more formal commitment with for some people. And if some people are like, nope, I want to stay single, well, some people did already leave those kind of relationships. Some people could be leaving those relationships right now. And if other people are dealing with people where they kind of realize it's not really love, they could be in a relationship, they could be married, but the other person, it's more for these worldly reasons and just feeling like you maybe can't have a more deep, meaningful relationship, and therefore you feel in shadowy Scorpio is kind of the illusion of love. But if it's more for these reasons of the world, to indulge yourself in it, more for the status, the ego, the image, the stability, the security, but it's not really love. Well, I had a dream of being in a relationship because of love. And that's when you kind of realize that, again, kind of at a core foundational level, what your truth is different. And as some people have gotten out of those and other people are getting out of them, the people who really are, their truth is, I am more about wanting to be in a relationship to be in a relationship, but I don't want to do love. It would be to go try to find someone else who they think also might be more motivated and inspired in their more worldly, egoic nature, but could want people to kind of present themselves as loving, maybe in a lot of ways, kind of be, people can be fearful of love and coming out from behind their ego, and they can be very just, fair, kind of loving and encouraging people in a relationship. But again, it's kind of more, and they can thoroughly enjoy the relationship. But, for anybody to find someone that all these different things that we could want, it can be hard to find. They're not a dime a dozen, right? They could find and get in relationships with people who are much more prideful or stubborn than them or more materialistic than them. And then the people who are much more materialistic, it's like, well, I don't know, what do you have? Well, how much status, image, or clout do you have? Or how much money? Or how much social clout do you have? Or how is this going to benefit me and my ego, my image? And, if that's the most important thing to them, then they're going to not be on the same page with people who still, on this side of the scales might be more about the world, but there's all these like different degrees and ways of being and lessons learned, and who's more bossy and controlling, who's more immature, who's more full of themselves, trying to find the right mix of person that's kind of on the same page as you. I think those people, if they know the truth is that they don't want to do love, yeah, quit trying to deceive and manipulate is what the Seven of Swords and shadowy Aquarius can be. The other people harness high vibe Aquarius. They are motivated and inspired by love, and they harness high vibe Gemini and Libra and Cancer and Leo and Virgo. They're motivated and inspired by love. Quit trying to get in a relationship with people like that. But for some people, that is their idea of the dream relationship. No, I just need to find the right loving person who's motivated and inspired by love, because it's great to be in relationships with people like that. So you're like more balanced and just and fair, and you're not more competitive and fearful and codependent, and manipulative and full of yourself. Cool. Yeah, I want to be in a relationship with you. But they still is kind of trying to deceive people about the truth of who they are. They want to kind of be more defensive, hide behind their ego, a little bit more about all these other reasons other than love. And eventually, I mean, it can take a long time, but as the people in their life are trying to move things forward, they're kind of like sitting there, kind of like, why isn't this moving forward? We've kind of done this for a long time. It's time to go to the next phase. And, you know, they would probably work through their own fears and insecurities. It's like, and eventually they might tell those people that I do want to be maybe in a more deep, meaningful relationship that seems more just and fair and balanced with people who are more authentically inspired by love, and you seem to be a little defensive to love. Seems to be more of these other reasons, so those people move on. And the shadowy people either go try to find another loving person to manipulate. Some of them might go try, might see the truth. You know, I should quit doing that. That is not my truth. It doesn't work out. Why would I keep trying to keep repeating a pattern that doesn't work out because we view life differently and we have different dreams and motivations? You know, I got to let go of that dream, and I might have to go get and find someone who kind of might be more driven and motivated by what I'm driven and motivated by. You know, the problem is they are kind of dealing with someone like themselves. So if they're more driven and motivated by getting in a relationship and staying in a relationship for the ego, the image, the money, the materialism, the other people are also getting in a relationship with them for that reason. And they know that. But if they're both willing to, you know, do we both present ourselves in the world like we're these more just and fair and stable and balanced and authentic and loving people? And do we kind of treat each other like that? So at least we feel we didn't get love, but at least we got what looks like love, and kind of treat each other in that way, even though it might be challenging for both of us because neither one of us wants to come out from behind our ego, and we both could be afraid of, you know, that high vibe energy you freely give of yourself because that's the truth of who you are. Kind of like your cup of love overflows with the people in your life that you love. But the people who that's not the truth, they're kind of quite defensive, don't want to give more than the other person gives. So then it can kind of be a little tension in the relationship because it's more of a tit for tat kind of thing. You know, I don't want to be taken advantage of. I don't want to feel like I'm indulging you because really I like to be the one who's more indulged. And if there's anybody that's going to be indulged in this situation, it's going to be me. You know? And so, but if they can find the right person, you know, that would be great. Get them out of getting in relationships with more loving people. Leave the loving people alone. But the problem is, just being in shadowy energy, everyone is kind of defensive to being willing to learn lessons in life. That's high vibe Virgo. You know, I have these ways of being and conducting myself that I have decided is just and fair. And how dare you think that I should change? No, you should change. And so, again, it could be very difficult. But maybe if some people get in relationships with some people who are more like themselves, maybe they'd start to look at life differently and start to realize, gee, when I had people in my life who did work together with me in a just and fair way and were more loving and encouraging and supportive, why why didn't I work with them? You know? And then some of those people might think, wait, I do want to have a new beginning with those people. But that can be difficult. It's one thing if people, you know, the other people became illuminated to the truth. Yeah, you're immature. Yeah, you're competitive. Yeah, you're stubborn. You're prideful. You're full of yourself. You're much more materialistic, much more ego driven. At a core foundational level, we look at life in our Aquarius energy very differently. You're more about yourself and these things of the world, and I have a little more hope and faith and belief in love, and you seem to have mental conflict about love. So even if those people wanted a new beginning with those people, some of those people are like, no, I am not confused in my Scorpio nature about the truth of who you are. I have as I went and did my life and you went and did your life and how you acted in it, I saw the truth of who you are. I do not think you harness high vibe Scorpio or high vibe Gemini or Libra or Cancer or Aquarius or Virgo or Leo. I think you harness all of those energies in a more worldly, shadowy way. So, no. Now, there could be people in our life that we always did think they were a loving person, but maybe they just had some things that manipulated them. They could have been more codependent. Maybe I learned to love themselves. Being in relationships with people who are more just and fair and loving, it's like, that's different. You know, sometimes you can be a very loving person, but you'll repeat a pattern of getting in relationships with people who are kind of more shadowy. And that's kind of your comfort zone. And getting in a relationship with someone who treats you the way you treat them, it's like, and again, it could be you can be loving to other people, but you haven't worked through your mental conflict of believing you kind of deserve love. And so it can be hard to even accept people loving you. And sometimes we got some other issues that we need to work through, things we could look to and go indulge in that kind of keeps our life a little out of balance or whatever. We could be a little caught up maybe in the superficial or shallow or whatever, you know, whatever differences people have. But if we think some of the people in our life that we might at different times have moved away from, if some of those people or you to those people kind of learned some of these lessons, you saw where you needed to heal and grow and mature yourself, love and believe in yourself, then, you know, you've gotten out of your ego nature. You know, you've kind of learned the lesson you needed to learn, and you kind of saw how you were repeating some pattern and you didn't want to keep repeating that pattern, and you learned to feel more stable and balanced and love yourself and believe in yourself and believe in your dreams. Then you might go communicate to some people because you're not in your ego about it. You know, that's the difference between people being in their ego and people not being in their ego. When you learn the lesson you're meant to learn from it, you know, you maybe had to work through it for a while to get out of the shame or the whatever of it. But it's like, I'm glad that happened because it set me free. If I maybe wouldn't have done some of those things or gotten in some of those relationships, you know, it's kind of like looking that we can be drawn and attracted to certain people because we have some valuable lessons to learn from them, maybe some things that we hadn't wanted to see the truth of, these things that manipulate us, wounds or pain and heartbreak buried beneath the surface, a lack of faith and belief in ourselves or in our believing in ourselves or listening to our intuition or believing in a higher power. And then people are kind of like an open book. I don't have a problem telling you about anything that I did because I'm not ashamed of it anymore. You know, whatever it could have been. Was I more immature? Was I more stubborn? Was I whatever, you know? Because I've learned all these lessons from it. I feel much more stable and grounded and balanced, and you know, I've really changed a lot, and I've really come to it forced me to learn to love and believe in myself and know my worth and value. And some of the people that could communicate to you in that energy, other people that you could communicate in that energy, if those people think that you are telling the truth or you think they are, you know, you'd be willing to spend some time with them to talk about those things and work through those things if it's someone that you already know. And if, you know, you think you are on the same page now, then 2, 3 of swords make the 6 of swords. I think our truth is the same. I think we got on the same page. Now, like that can happen with people you have known. It can also happen with people you'll meet as you'll move forward. They went on their journey of life, you went on your journey of life, and then you meet each other. And maybe as you kind of get to know each other, you know, you kind of figure out that we've kind of learned some of the same lessons in life and we're kind of on the same page and we should be friends, you know, and get to know each other more. Now, for some people who are going to get out of, some people who did get out of some situations, everybody then could just take some time to love themselves, to work through their inner conflict and their heartbreak, about closing out a cycle with some people that they thought a dream was going to come into reality with, and kind of heal their own inner child nature, to get back to feeling more stable and grounded within themselves, work through the mental and emotional confusion, to heal. And, again, we can be at different stages in this process. Some people are in the midst of thinking about it. Some people are in the midst of getting out of some things, whether that's jobs, friendships, or relationships. Other people already got out of it. Other people have already worked through the mental confusion and they're ready to move forward in a new beginning. The other people aren't there yet. They're still in the process. And so, again, even though there can be people in our life that we could think are just and fair and loving, they could be at whatever stage of the process they're at. And then we also know the people in our life who we kind of already know are kind of shadowy. And as we move forward in life, we're listening to our intuition now about the different people we meet based on these things that we've learned. No more staying in denial of the truth. I'm going to accept the truth when people show me, oh, yeah, I act kind of snarky, and oh, I act kind of immature, and oh, I'm hard to deal with, and oh, I'm kind of full of myself. It's just more like, yes, thank you for showing me the truth of who you are, and I'm going to keep my distance from you. And now I'm aware of it, and I don't want to get in relationships. I'm standing up out of my more hopeful, believing, loving nature that I've healed from people who are like that. I don't want to get back in friendships or relationships with people who are like that. So, no more inner conflict about the truth. I don't care how attractive you are, how charming, if it's a friendship or you're in my neighborhood or whatever, that I would like to meet more people to be in friendship or relationship with. No, you've shown me you're kind of shadowy. I've already been in relationships with people who are kind of shadowy, and it's not like a one off, like, oh my gosh, they just didn't sleep all night or whatever. But there too, people can kind of explain that I'm not in a good mood today because these things happened, versus somebody who just acts crabby and then they want to give an excuse later, right? I mean, it's just people that, yeah, you're one of those people that kind of like, say you're 35 or 45 and you're dealing with someone else who's like 35 and 45, but they kind of have these ways of acting that is like, oh my God, that's like people I knew when I was like 18 and 21 and 25, grow up, right? And it's like, yeah, no interest in repeating a relationship dynamic like that again. So I accept where you're at. And so we've learned to listen to our intuition, probably have more hope and faith and belief in ourselves, stay focused on the big picture, let love and intuition guide us, knowing in a world of duality where we have free will, we're going to meet some shadowy people who could also wear some good false masks. Again, willing to get to know people, but I'm not going to move forward with you maybe in a more involved relationship until I get more clear about what your truth is. And if I get to know that, yeah, I think you're kind of more about yourself or indulging or a little more deceptive or immature, whatever, yeah, I'm going to keep moving on and work with the people in my life who aren't that way. And the thing is, the more you keep focused on the big picture and taking decisions out of truth and love and standing up for yourself and your truth and what you want to manifest, where I'm not going to manifest this if that's not in alignment with my truth and where I'm going. Thinking I can indulge in this behavior and hope it ends up over there. No, I need to meet people who are over there if that's where I want to go. So, and eventually kind of the people who are a little more shadowy or manipulative or deceptive realize you're not going to indulge them, and that's not their truth. So eventually they go to find other people, and it's like, that's fine. I'm looking for people who are motivated and inspired by this. And if that's not you, it's not you. But the people in your life who are loving and encouraging and just and fair, together you help each other love and believe in yourself and believe in your dreams and encourage each other to keep moving forward, and you keep moving forward with those people. Some of you are in relationships or long-term friendships or new jobs, new friendships, or marriage, or have been in a marriage a long time, and you all just deal with these other different shadowy people. It's just trying to find more people kind of who are on the same page to be in friendship and relationship with. So a big thing here is kind of like how people maybe harness their Leo energy. And again, some people have been illuminated to the truth. That's also a high vibe Leo and high vibe Virgo. They've dealt with some hurtful and painful situations, but they might not be ready to, kind of just at a different phase of the process. Or you could be here and other people might be ready, and you're like, I'm not ready yet. I kind of feel like it would, and I got to listen to my own intuition. And if I feel like that isn't where I'm ready at and I need to take some time, then I'm going to take my time. And the other people might say they need to take their time. High vibe people, it's like you just get out of your ego about it. I accept what is, I accept where people are at. I work with the people who are more stable, grounded, just, fair, self-aware, self-insightful, loving, encouraging, and I keep moving forward, and everybody's got the free will to decide what they want to do. Some people will move forward with me and whoever else I'm moving forward with, and some people won't. But I can only manifest my dream into reality with people who are willing to be authentic, reveal the truth, be loving, be just and fair, become independent of some old ways of being, get out of their head, speak the truth, reveal the truth, and work together in love. And if that's not some of those people, then my dream can come into reality with them anyway. So let's go see what could be coming up that some people harness some high vibe Scorpio energy don't see coming. So yeah, with this card here saying wanting more broke the old pattern. When it caused you maybe some inner conflict and maybe some heartbreak and feeling stuck in mental conflict, kind of repeating an old pattern. Again, just like, when we were 18 turning 21, I don't want to keep acting like an 18-year-old. So you tell your 18-year-old friends that you've been hanging out with, 18, 19, 20, I got a dream. I don't want to keep living life like an 18-year-old. I would like to start doing some of these things and quit doing some of those things because it doesn't really move my life forward. Who wants to come with? And some of the people are like, no way, man, I want to keep doing this. And other people are like, me too, and other people move forward with you. Some people could have a lot more inner conflict about change. Some people could have a lot more inner conflict of becoming independent of things, vices, people in their life. Some people lack some hope and faith and belief in themselves. Some people have a lot of fear, and they'll probably work through that eventually, but in the meantime, some other people are going to keep moving forward. Like, well, I'm not going to not move out or go get a job or go to college, just because my friends didn't do it, like back in the day. Everybody kind of moves forward when they're ready to move forward. Some of those people you can still stay in friendship and relationship with. Some of the people it can become more distant over time because your life is different. You kind of look at life differently in this Aquarius card versus that Aquarius card. You're kind of, Yeah, you just have different vantage points on how you view yourself and how you view life and what you view as possible. What's coming up for the high vibe people they might not see coming? The Eight of Cups, the Two of Wands, the Knight of Pentacles, the Ten of Pentacles, the Death card, the Queen of Wands, and the reason is because of the Two of Wands. So, the way I would read this, you have this dream. So, the Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups. The Eight of Cups is Pisces energy. Both Pisces and Virgo are mutable signs. It's kind of the emotional energy and the earth sign energy, and Sagittarius that we tap into to help us transition out of phases of life. And because you had this dream, again, you could have kind of felt like, that at one time away you were living your life, you could have thought that was the idea of the dream life. It's where you were. It's how you thought. It's how you felt. You know, again, just like when you were 18, 21, and 25. When you lived your life at that stage of life, was it just and fair? Kinda, because that's where you were at, you know? But as you went through that phase of life, you learn these lessons. You kind of see if you want to move forward in your life differently. You got to quit certain habits and patterns and vices. And you did have this dream, and you did kind of listen to your intuition that it's time for me to invest in that dream. And then the tens can talk about closing out a cycle. And it's time to become independent of that foundation, which at one time when I lived my life like that, I could have found it very abundant, and I had no interest in becoming independent of it. But as time has went by, it's time to move forward, because if I keep living my life that way, it kind of puts an end to my more emotionally creative, inspired nature, because I let my ego and my fear kind of run my life. And I don't want to give up on my dreams. So I'm going to listen to my intuition, get out of my ego about some of these things I need to let go of and emotionally detach from. And I've probably, with the people in my life, I've tried to inspire them with truth and love to have them move forward with me. But some of those people, they're staying back here. And they're like, no, don't go. Like, let's keep doing this. Let's not get out of our ego. Let's just keep moving forward like this. But it's like dead. It's not giving birth to anything new. They want to keep repeating an old pattern more. And it's like, again, it's like someone who's like an 18-year-old. Other people are becoming 21 and 25 and moving forward. And they're like, no, let's keep doing life like an 18-year-old. I don't want to step out of my comfort zone. I don't want to be more bold and brave and confident. Or I'm just happy living my life here. Aren't you happy living your life here? It's like, I was, but it never gives birth to anything new. That's shadowy Scorpio. It's dead and stagnant. And some of those people are kind of dead and stagnant. And they don't want to give birth to anything new. And then they don't want you to like love and believe in yourself and your dreams. Make your life more about these things. Let's keep investing in the same things, or whatever's been manipulating us, let it keep manipulating us. And it's like, I don't want to keep letting those things manipulate me. I've kind of worked through it. I've healed. I've seen the truth of these things that manipulate me. And I'm ready to move forward and drop that baggage. Or I'm done feeling defensive. I'm done feeling conflicted. I'm done feeling backstabbed. I'm done feeling stuck. I'm done feeling manipulated. I'm done fighting. I'm done feeling heartbroken. I'm done feeling deceived and manipulated. I'm moving forward in my truth. If this is your truth, come with. If it's not, then go do that. But I'm not going to do that. And there'll be some people in your life who will come forward with you, and there will be some people who don't. And then as you move forward, you'll meet other people at that next stage of life. But again, some of them could be more mature, more stable, whatever. If we look at the different phases of our life, of how we acted and lived our life, age 18, 21, 25, 35, could everybody at the next phase of life, some of them, at least the ones you're looking to get more in friendship or relationship with, been more stable, grounded, self-disciplined, and mature than some of the people in our past at those stages of life? Yeah, but there can always be kind of more shadowy people on the spectrum at that stage of life. So you've just learned to listen to your intuition, not take action more out of your ego, keep investing in yourself, knowing your worth and value, willing again to get to know people. But if people show you they're kind of again more on the shadowy edge, you're going to move forward and it will transform your life in high vibe Scorpio. You will give birth to that next version of yourself with other people who are giving birth to that next version of themselves. And while you move forward, keep loving and believing in yourself and believing in your dreams. The other people aren't ready to do that yet or don't want to do that, and they'll go back and repeat an old pattern. What's coming up for the people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Scorpio energy that they might not see coming? The Seven of Cups, the Nine of Swords, the Five of Wands, the Strength card, the Emperor. And the reason is because the Nine of Swords. So, out of balance. And I kind of view the sevens as kind of the tipping point. So, the shadowy people are tipped more in favor of liking to live more from their mind than their heart. You know, being more strategic. Could have a problem with change. The Five of Wands and the Strength cards, Leo energy. You know, could have a hard time just with change. Again, Scorpio energy and Leo energy and Aquarius energy is fixed sign energy. But I wanted to do it like this. I need to find someone who lives more from their mind than their heart, who also might have fear of change, who also might have fear of tempering their ego, who also might have fear of being more bold and brave and confident in their life. You know, kind of like a different way of harnessing their fire sign energy. Can't we just make our life more about me or these things or conforming to the world? What's so wrong with that? So they could be more kind of competitive in the world. Maybe don't really want to shine their more authentic light in the world. Want to just blend in with the world because that could be shadowy energy. Just making your life more about conforming to the world. You know, living a more worldly view of life, get in a relationship, get a job, do this, do that. Maybe don't look at life from a higher perspective. Don't maybe believe there is any higher truth or justice or any other purpose for being on the planet. But, you know, if we're willing to free ourselves from the things that manipulate us, you know, and love and believe in ourselves, we could, you know, be loving and encouraging people to other people, less caught up in ourself and our ego and our competitive nature and our prideful nature and our defensive nature, which is just kind of being more high vibe energy in the world, right? Some people are really would like to maybe do something different, but I think sometimes shadowy people, because this more shadowy way of viewing life can be where it is kind of trying to manipulate people and feeling that's like what everybody does, but they don't realize that not everybody does that. That isn't how everybody thinks, but they could think that. And so then they could be really fearful of being manipulated. But the people who are more motivated and inspired by truth and love, again, there's no guarantees. But you could be proud of yourself that I had hope and faith and belief in love. I was who I say I am. I wasn't wearing a false mask. I wasn't trying to deceive and manipulate anyone. I authentically was myself and wanted to work together with people in truth and love. If it doesn't work out, I can be proud of myself that I acted with character and integrity, and I can take those ways of being and the lessons I've learned to the next job, friendship, or relationship I get in. But other people don't really view life that way. And sometimes some people just want to play it safe. Some people would rather stay in a relationship with someone they don't even want to be in a relationship with. Are you ever going to go anywhere? Are you going to heal? Are you going to work through your past pain and heartbreak? Are you ever going to become less bossy or controlling? No, perfect. Let's get married. Because it can be such an ego thing of, I don't want to kind of be vulnerable, put myself out there, make a commitment, and then what if it doesn't work out? Well, how about, you know, I mean, it doesn't really have to be a blame game, but, sometimes we find out that, we can be in friendship or relationship or a marriage for a period of time, and then kind of the next, how we want to keep moving forward could be a little different. You could both be lovely people, but they kind of wanted to go live here. I don't want to go live there. I like it here. Maybe they want to go do these things and kind of got into these different things as people can do over time. Just like and enjoy different things. It's kind of like, I still kind of like all the things we kind of used to do, but they don't seem to want to do that anymore. Why does it have to be such a prideful and egotistical thing? But I guess the more prideful and egotistical people are, the more it could manipulate them. So I think what they don't see coming is shadowy people can always have more high vibe people in their life that want to be in friendship and relationship with them. Whether it's their children, whether it's their friends and family or a romantic interest. But if they keep having this inner conflict, I don't know, maybe just not being more authentic, where it always feels like, I don't know if you've ever known any people where it's almost like reading off a script, like you feel like you could almost substitute anyone else in the scene and it would be exactly the same, almost the same old superficial kind of bullshit, you know, like almost like they say this sentence and it's almost like they're like, then you're supposed to say this back. It's like, so then you say that back, and then they say what they, it's all this like role play in a way. That can be living too much in your mind than your heart, where it is trying to control things, and they don't really like people being more authentic because that's like off script. Oh, don't just be like a normal person who might tell me about whatever and blah, blah, blah. You're not doing the script. Oh my God, now I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say because it's like they don't even know how to relate to people in just a more going with the flow kind of way. But they could always have some high vibe people in their life. And eventually those people have inner conflict. Again, maybe that things never change. If that's it, that is just more superficial and shallow. Kind of like to be around some people who are maybe not or more authentic. um, they might be a little boring or something because it's all kind of about whatever. And they could want to do some other things, and the other people know we got to do this. And it's like, oh my gosh. But anyway, I think more high vibrational people in their life will move on. They'll work through their mental conflict. And they'll, and there too, people can be where if they know people are kind of deceptive and manipulative, even though they love them, if over time they see that these people get in friendships and relationships with people, create this illusion, they're willing to bring this dream into reality, but they know that's not really what's going to happen. And some people in their life have seen it happen over and over, and they know those people um, are just about indulging themselves in it, or still haven't healed from someone and could just be getting in relationships with other people to try to manipulate someone else that they want to be in a relationship with, to try to get that person to get back in a relationship with them. Eventually other people don't want to be a part of it. I don't want that shadowy Pisces. I don't want to be part, kind of being in a more involved friendship or relationship with you that helps contribute to the illusion about the type of person you are. I'd rather kind of keep my distance, and you can kind of explain or say whatever you want to say about why we don't really hang out that much, but I have mental conflict not telling some people that I think you can get in friendship and relationship. Watch out, you're going to get backstabbed. They're not who they say they are. This dream isn't going to come into reality. How long do you want to keep repeating that with someone you hang out with? Even though you might have known them since you were young, or they're your brother or your sister or whatever. You'd rather the person be authentic. If you're kind of more of a bitch or an ass or more bossy and controlling, I'll own it, be it. That way we don't feel like you're creating an illusion and you are being the truth of who you are. But again, some people do live their life like that, and then people, they don't have a problem being around them. I could not try to create an illusion that they're a more just, fair, balanced person than they are, because they're not. And we can plainly see that, or they're more immature or stubborn. They are who they are. We can all hang around them. Nobody is contributing to creating an illusion. But for the people who do try to wear a false mask, it can get harder. And then those people could maybe not understand it. Well, my gosh, these people are friends and hang out with these people, whatever. That person owns it. I'm not contributing to trying to create an illusion about who they are. I think everybody can see who they are. By the way they dress, by the way they act, by the way they drink, by the way they do whatever. Or just their arrogance. you know, I can't put a band-aid on that and cover that up. But yet other people don't want to be more authentically who they are, and other people know the truth of who they are, and then it's like, I'm not going to create the illusion. Anyway, back to this. I think more high vibe people will leave their life, and they'll be more surrounded by either people who haven't been illuminated to the truth of who they are, and as long as those people are caught up in the illusion of them, it'll work, and the whole time they'll be stressed out that one day they'll figure out the truth and worried about if those people will stay or go. I think shadowy people, because they're not being truthful and honest, I think they're always stressed out. Why not grow up and mature yourself and heal? Learn to start treating people the way you like to be treated. Quit trying to control people or manipulate or play mind games with people. And just learn to love and believe in yourself. It takes work and effort. How about you do that work and effort so you can get out of being up in your head and feel more balance within yourself? But if they are more about these things of the world, I think it's always afraid because they know the people aren't in a relationship. They know they're not in a relationship for love. They know that other people aren't. And if someone comes along who's got more status, more image, well, sorry, gotta go. Or, oh, that person looks more fearful, more codependent, and I really want someone to make it more about me. I think that person would make it more about me. Even though you're maybe more stable and grounded, that person's more fearful and insecure. I think they'd indulge me more in the relationship. And then they'd get out. So it's always really a battle, I think, for people in more shadowy energy. Have a lot of inner conflict. They end up dealing with other people who have a lot of inner conflict. Nobody wants the other person to really love and believe in themselves, so they could kind of do these petty, immature things. Not too much, though. Not enough so that they leave. Just enough so it makes them worried you might leave. And then to get them to be in more codependent energy and maybe indulge you a little bit more. And oh my gosh, all the gameplay. There you go, Scorpio. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.